Alexander Payne, Jim Taylor, what a great writing team. Unbeatable. They've made great movie after great movie after great movie. Probably my favorite of theirs still has to be Sideways. This came out 10 years ago, 2004. Still as fresh and funny and captivating as ever. I just watched it a few days ago to kind of get the movie fresh in my mind. Still so great, still so funny, and I guess over the years it's kind of developed sort of like a cult among wine aficionados, because that's what the movie is about. It's about a wine connoisseur, Miles, played by Paul Giamatti, and being dragged out to sort of like a bachelor party kind of event thing, to wine country, with his old pal Jack, played by Thomas Haden Church, the brilliant and funny Thomas Haden Church, and kind of how they're opposites, and all the hijinks that they get into, and Miles most definitely takes the hobby of wine tasting a lot more seriously. So it's really kind of funny how they're opposites and stuff. And this movie, I mean, it is genuinely funny. There's some such great dialogue, and some sophomoric stuff too, like that you'd see in like any kind of gross out comedy. But I think the writing is so sharp and the characters are so true and the acting is so on point that it makes it something more than that. It makes it feel a lot truer and a lot more kind of natural, that we don't feel that we're watching a kind of contrived comedic sitcom or anything like that. It's much more than that, and there is much more at stake. I mean, this character here, Miles, he's depressed, divorced, has this novel that he's working on, and nobody wants it, basically. Meanwhile, it's like basically like a story of his life, so his heart is on his sleeve, and so no one seems to want anything to do with that, and that's kind of tearing him apart. Meanwhile, Jack is going to be married, but he has only one thing on his mind: "You'll never understand my plight, Miles." He wants to get laid out there as much as possible. So there's the conflict between the two, where Paul Giamatti's just like, "Oh, can't we just have some wine, have some fun?" Jack is like, "No," basically. But it's funny, and it is kind of funny how opposite they are. How Jack, I mean, despite everything, he is a very positive type of person. You see that in like the wine scenes where, Miles, he'll go into every single detail. He's like, I think this was aged a little too much, and just the slightest hint of oak in here that overcompensates and ruins the palate. Jack is like, "I don't know, I think it's pretty good." So that's pretty much every wine tasting scene, which is really funny. So I do think there is kind of a truth to that kind of relationship, and how we kind of understand why they're friends. Jack being as positive as he is kind of keeps Miles from going off the deep end. Miles being as intelligent as he is, to a fault maybe, kind of keeps Jack from doing the ultimately stupid things. I mean, you see the stupid things that he does in this movie. Just think if Miles wasn't there to kind of talk him down a little bit. So there's a good balance there, and I like that between the characters. And so I guess that's just kind of what makes this worthy of Academy Award consideration. This was nominated for Best Picture in 2004, which is really cool. I mean, you don't see not too often, comedies getting nominated. Maybe now that there's more nomination slots, you see that more. But even now, you don't see it too much. So this was a really nice surprise to see it so beloved by all awards consideration around that time. This was nominated for Best Picture. It won for screenplay, deservedly so. Thomas Haden Church was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and the wonderful Virginia Madsen, who almost steals the whole movie, she was nominated too. She's the love interest of Miles, and again, this whole movie, it just does everything right. She doesn't feel like this plot point. She doesn't feel like, she's this object of affection. She's a real character, and it is like a genuine kind of betrayal that Miles kind of plays along with because of Jack's ways, and there is also kind of a genuine relationship going there because you can see why she does, despite all that, kind of like him. And great acting there. And then that scene where she describes how she fell in love with wine and what she loves about wine, just such a beautiful show-stopping scene. So she was nominated for supporting actress, rightly so. Oddly enough, Paul Giamatti was not nominated for this movie. This is his best performance, at least one of his best performances, at least his best performance, let's say, to date. Such a great performance, so funny, so kind of this internal, this performance where you kind of see this very kind of depressed guy just trying to make life work, and this introverted kind of guy, and how still sharp and still funny he is, and how Giamatti plays it with just kind of sophistication, but I don't know, crassness too. It's just so good. I'm so bummed out that he wasn't nominated. That is honestly, that's a travesty that he wasn't nominated. But they nominated him the few years later for Cinderella Man. His highly celebrated and memorable performance in Cinderella Man, obviously. But no, this is like the Giamatti movie, man. So good in this. And Sandra Oh, Canadian Sandra Oh, lovely Grey's Anatomy star. She's great in the movie too. She, playing kind of like this. She is being lied to by Jack and kind of drawn in, and how Jack, kind of oaf that he is, he's like wanting to end his marriage and move out there with her, and believing it sincerely, and how she is able to see the show display in her performance like the scorned woman by the end of it all, but still be very funny, which I think that's a tough thing to do. What does she say to Miles? She's like, "Fuck face." It's so funny. So many great lines in this movie. Such great character interactions. I just love it so much. And again, it is always just this kind of, doofus and intellect kind of bouncing back and forth between each other, and they have great chemistry there. And I don't know, Thomas Haden Church, I mean, this was like the movie this was like his comeback. I mean, he mainly in like TV movies, or TV that he would do, Wings and Ned and Stacy. That was an awesome show, by the way, Ned and Stacy. This kind of like brought him to a whole nother level. And, just a few years later, he'd be, a villain in a Spider-Man movie, which was well worth his time. But also he's in Smart People, which I really loved. So Thomas Haden Church is great. They're all great. Everyone in this movie is so great. And just great interactions. Like one of my favorite parts is, near the end where he gets the broken nose because he's, slammed in the face with Sandra Oh's bike helmet. Tries to make it look like a car accident, so he's intentionally crashing the car. Meanwhile, they have bottles of wine in the car. And it's like, Miles is like, you broke a couple of them. It's like, oh, whatever. Miles is like, no, not whatever, you fucking derelict. I don't know. I found that really funny. But yeah, such a great performance by Jumatis. Again, great performances all around. This is such a funny and great movie, and there's a little something more to it, which keeps me coming back. This is a classic. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. This is one of the great comedies of the last 10 years now. So well-deserving of all its Academy Love. Should it have won? I don't know. It's hard to say. There's actually a lot of really great movies nominated that year. 2004 in general, I think, was a great year for movies. We had this, we had The Aviator, we had $1 Million Baby, which won. Ray, and Finding Neverland, those were all nominated. So very diverse collection. It's hard to say. I like this and The Aviator both quite a bit, so it's hard for me to say. But yeah, I'm glad it went for the screenplay, so that was well deserved. Paul Giamatti should have been nominated for Best Actor. Shame on you, Academy. He should have been nominated. But yeah, that's my review of Sideways. Great movie. I love it. Plenty more reviews to come. 31 Days of Oscars. Stay tuned for more. Until then, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you later.